Rockin' the Range, Day 2, 2018. I'm Lou Brutus. Ben Bruce from Asking Alexandria is my guest now. How are you, lad?
I'm good. How are you doing?
You guys actually got pretty lucky today because a lot of bands have not been allowed to play because of the weather, but you came off relatively unscathed.
We did, and before we went on as well, they called Code Red, and we were like, oh man, this is going to ruin our set. And then doors opened, and we were like, yes, let's go. And then we found out we couldn't fly our backdrop, so we were like, oh my god, the end is here. We can't fly our backdrop because of the weather. And then I realized, wait, hang on a minute. There's probably going to be a bunch of bands that can't even play today.
Yeah.
So we were very, very lucky. We had a good time.
What other outdoor problems have you had with all the shows that you guys have done through the years?
Honestly, the biggest one is probably I thought I don't know why this happened, but I thought it would be good to wait till the end of the day to use the porta potty. I don't know why. I thought there would be less people around trying to get in. It was horrible in there, but because it was the end of the day and it was dark and the festival was over, forklift came and picked the thing up while I was in it. So never use a porta potty at an outdoor festival after the show's finished. You might end up in the parking lot or the cemetery of porta potties.
Wasn't that like in a Bill Murray movie or something? Like that sounds like a
in
Saturday Night Live movie.
It was in a Ben Bruce movie.
Honestly, that might be the most Spinal Tapian moment I've ever heard of in my life.
Horrendous. I opened up the door and there was just hundreds of them. I was like, wow.
File that under living the dream.
Living the dream, exactly. Rock and roll.
You know, last time we spoke was earlier this year, and the album had just been out for a month or so.
Yeah.
And I don't think you really could gauge yet how it was doing, what kind of reaction you were getting. However, now that you've been out for a number of months, what kind of feedback you getting? What are you hearing from people about it? Fans, I mean.
We were just discussing this, and I think this has been our most successful album cycle today, and we're not even a third of the way through it. I think the album's obviously a bit of a change in direction, which all of our albums always are.
Sure.
So there's always a bit of uncertainty, but I don't know if you caught any of the set today, but the songs going over best live are the new songs. The songs people are reacting to most live are the new songs. They're singing them the loudest, they're bouncing the hardest. And then on top of that too, throughout this cycle so far, we've been touring, and offers are starting to flood in for more and more, and guarantees are going up, and slots at festivals are going up, and we're being put onto main stages now instead of a side stage, and it's all because of the album and how everyone's taking it and listening to it, and records are still selling. We're like 6 months into this thing, and I'm beyond excited.
Well, and something else, again, going back to our last conversation, I think you guys had just started to find your groove again because there had been some interruptions in there, and I think this is all just sort of fed into the good part of this. I don't want to say resurrection, but revitalization might be a better word.
Revitalization, yeah, the rebirth almost. But I mean, we hit a rough patch, and I think a lot of, especially promoters and people within the industry, were like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen now. And we came back swinging, we went into the studio and we wrote the best album we possibly could, and thankfully everyone else agrees. Everyone's like, wow, this is the best stuff you guys have done, and it's just been nice to. I was saying today to the guys, it's nice that after 10 years, a lot of bands after 10 years of being together,
they run out of steam or they run out of creativity.
Exactly, and we're actually on the up and up, and we've started fresh, and it feels new again. It feels like we've been doing this for a year, and it's the beginning, and we're climbing the ladder again. So we're very, very fortunate.
Why do you think that is? Because again, that can be very rarefied air where a band is around for 10 or 20 years and suddenly comes out with one of the best records they've ever done. Green Day with American Idiot, and then 21st Century Breakdown, I think, is another really good example. The Who had some, for them, later career really stuff. You can look in different genres and different kinds of music. Why do you suppose it was for you guys?
I couldn't give you an answer. I'm not sure. I think a lot of it has to do with standing the test of time, so to speak. I think a lot of bands come up and people don't necessarily give them the attention at the time of day. They're like, they'll be gone tomorrow or whatever. And I think after you've stuck around long enough, people start to go, oh, you become a recognized, almost a household name within your scene or genre, whatever you want to call it. And I think people can finally start to notice, like, for instance, today, I've seen Asking Alexandria play Rock on the Range 4 times now, and we just made it to main stage, and I think that's commendable, and people like a success story. They like watching the underdogs come and go up through the ranks, and I think that has a lot to do with it. We stood our ground, We said we're not going anywhere, and we've just kept on trucking forward and working as hard as we can.
And yeah, and I think the hard work really feeds into it. You know, another really good example of a band that I first saw as an opener as a kid, who had many albums out in the States before anybody gave a shit about them, was AC/DC.
Yep.
They were around for years before anything happened.
And then they just, like you said, they just work,
Yep.
and they became the biggest band in the world.
Overnight success after 15 years.
After 15 years, exactly. That's what everyone thinks, isn't it? Oh, they came out of nowhere. Well, they didn't. They didn't. None of us do.
If only it were so easy.
I wish.
One of the new tunes that's doing really well for you guys is Alone in a Room. What kind of background can you give on it?
That's actually, it was one of my, even while we were recording, you know, I'd finished all the music before Danny came into the studio, and Danny sat down and was like, I want to record this song. I was like, okay, let's see what direction he takes us in. And the first thing he said was, I didn't know what he was going to sing about, what he had written. He'd been pacing back and forth in the studio. He's like, okay, I got it. I was like, okay. And he goes into the booth, and the first words I hear come out of his mouth are, I've been away a little while. And I was like, wow. And it hit home. I got chills down my body. And
About 45 different meanings to that for you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is the album opener. This is the song I want to reintroduce the world to Asking Alexandria, our new album, with Danny admitting, you know, and acknowledging his absence for the previous record. And I just think it's a beautiful thing, and I think a lot of people are taken aback by it when they hear it too, especially if they know the background and everything that went on.
Let's check out the video for it, Alone in a Room, Asking Alexandria. We're backstage, Rock on the Range 2018.